Hey everyone, Mark McGuire here. It's November 21st, 2020. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media about, should I vote for this guy or should I vote for that guy? And I just really think we're missing the structure of what's going on. To give you a history of myself, when I was a kid, I'd always go up to my grandpa and I'd be like, Grandpa, play with me, right? And he'd be like, Mark, did you know that Doc Holliday used a long-range rifle at 4:54 p.m.? And at 4:57, he took a piss. And I'm like, Grandpa, I don't really care. I want you to just play with me. And, it was a long history. Then, I went into high school and stuff. And Mr. Farrick's class, Naperville North, love you all. So he asked a question, and he's like, hey, who wants to be a millionaire? And, of course, everyone raises their hand, okay, and see me after class. And, of course, it was me and this other kid who saw him after class. And he gave me a mutual fund prospectus, and I knew that was my passion, and I just took it right from there. But then, it correlates to, I started, 27 years investing, 4 years researching world's reserve currencies, and I saw a lot of correlations of what's going on in our country, and I just, thought that everyone should see what's really going on, okay? And over here is, we have 5 world's reserve currencies before ours, right? Portugal, 80 years, Spain, 110 years, Dutch, 80 years, French, 95 years, British, 105 years, okay? Well, when I started researching all this stuff, I started seeing correlations where all of these follow the same 6 stages, and those 6 stages are right over here. Each one follows the exact same thing. It's a perfect track record, okay? Stage 1 starts over here, and you barter to a fiat currency, and you back it by a currency, back it by gold or silver, right? And you start your production industrial boom. And as you go along, you go off that standard, the gold, because you can't pay for anything because you're importing more than you're exporting. So you got to pay with something, okay? And then you print a lot of currency, debt starts going up, military starts expanding globally, production loss starts. Okay, that's up to stage 3, right? This is where you have your power peak of your country. As you're printing more currency to pay for things, you can expand your military globally, and you can buy up anything you want, and everyone likes your currency because it's the stable currency around the world. Then you go country power peaks, mini boom bust cycles, currency ramps up, income inequality starts at stage 3. So this is when your country, everything's looking the best that it can possibly be. Okay, and military expands all over the place. Number 4 is when you start coming down here and you get your boom bust cycles. Populism starts, income inequality gets worse, printing of the currency gets worse, leading to way more debt. And then you go to stage 5, which is distrust of government, country divided, populism escalates, income inequality gets extreme, debt ramps up to a point of no return, okay? And I put a star behind this one, right? Because what happens is when the 1 or 2% sound the alarm bell, nobody believes it because, and it's understandable, because when you have lived a life of luxury or living way beyond your means, you don't know any other life because usually you're not going to live past 80 to 100 years like you're seeing in this cycle, okay? So, in the end, majority of the people in the society, the 98, 99%, are going to deny what's coming, okay? And in this cycle, okay, as this is the world's reserve currency, another power comes up to take over. Exactly like this, as this one goes up, this one's curling up over and all the way through, okay? Now, stage 6, Janessa, you want to come up, please? Stage 6, here. Stage 6, what do you think happened to Portugal? This is their end game in stage 6. What do you think happened to Spain? And this is all due to money printing, the countless money printing. What happened to the Dutch? What happened to the French? All due to money printing. The British, what do you think happened? what do you think is going to happen to us? Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. So you're saying that we're going to go through the hyperinflation?
Hyperinflation?
Hyperinflation, yeah.
Yeah, so this is all based upon probabilities, okay? I can't say for 100% certainty of anything, and nobody can. But the way it looks and the way it has gone the previous times, I don't see how we don't go through the hyperinflation, because the debts and the money printing is so far gone, there's no way to get out of this mess. So, yeah, question?
Question. So you said you went through and you studied Portugal, Spain, and all their trajectories.
Right.
So I'm assuming the U.S. would have also had to go through the same trajectories. Now, would you have examples of what that trajectory was and what events led to
Right.
each stage?
Yeah, no,
And
that.
then I also noticed you have pink Post-its on it.
Yeah. So, if you look at this, I did a timeline of where we are at, where I believe we are at, and for the first one, which is 1920, okay, and that's when we started our industrial boom, okay, and what that meant is when you become a world's reserve currency, you have to produce a lot of stuff and sell it to everyone else. Well, in turn, you usually get gold for that. So if you go back, right in this era here, when we had World War II, right, France and Great Britain, they needed all of our supplies to fight Germany, right? So we gave them all our supplies. We said, we want your gold. So we got all of our gold, right? Then, which is 1944, okay, is when we sat down and signed Bretton Woods, okay? And the reason is all these world leaders got together and we decided whoever has the most gold has the world's reserve currency, okay? So we got the world's reserve currency. Then as we started going through the stage 2 to stage 3, as in what happened is we started exporting a lot less than we import. We started consuming way more. Well, we can't pay with our currency because we're on the gold standard, right? So what we had to do was we had to give them our gold. Well, then Nixon saw that and he's like, you're not taking our gold. So we're going to go off that standard, right? And that's in 1971 going off the gold standard. And that forced us, and I call it the day the dollar died. Because what it forces is these other cycles where you come in, the same exact thing that they went through, we are going through here, okay? So then we go to stage 3, and I have this right around, it's 2001, okay? Where you get your boom bust cycles, 1990s to 2001, 2005 range, okay? Then stage 4, I have is in 2008, because it's getting worse. The bailouts, they're having to print even more currency and more currency, okay? And then in stage 5, and this one you can argue, which I totally agree, both sides. You can argue this at 2016. You can argue this at 2020, okay? But this is the range where we're in, and it goes by everything that is said here. And all of them have followed this perfect track record. And for my next whiteboard, the beautiful Janessa Bird will come in with the whiteboard, okay? And what this is, it's Weimar on steroids, okay? And Weimar Germany, after World War I, they owed a lot of money. So they started printing their currency, right? And what happened was they went through hyperinflation, okay? But now, you got a picture of the United States, okay? And in 2019, our consumption was at 90%. We produced 10%. That means that we are consuming, going into more and more and more debt, but we don't produce stuff, okay? So for inflation, you need 3 things, okay? You need money printing, okay? If you don't have the money printing, you're not going to get inflation. You need money printing. Number 2 is you need velocity. It's got to exchange all the way around very quickly, okay? And then 3, it has to chase few goods, okay? So now imagine this scenario, right? Where these are dollar signs of all countries around us who do their currency in dollars because they have to, okay? Now, if they lose faith in the currency, because that's all we have left because we're printing like crazy, all that's left is they are going to get rid of these dollars and flood it back into the United States, and there's hardly any production of stuff. That's a perfect recipe for your massive inflation to hyperinflation on steroids.
So question.
Yep.
So you're saying, the inflation need three things, money, printing, velocity. So safe to assume that the money printing in our scenario would be the stimulus checks?
Correct.
Now, but, correct me if I'm wrong, though, we're currently not getting the velocity that you're saying that is needed because, we got the checks and then now it's getting held off. So what is your prediction on how we're going to continue the money print to where it gets to that velocity needed to get that hyperinflation going?
Unreal question, right? So what they're doing now is you have this bucket, right? And the higher the bucket goes of water, the more inflation you get, okay? And by people not working because of COVID, right? There's little holes in there where it's deflationary because what people are doing is they're paying off their bills. Right? So in turn, as this bucket starts dripping, they bring in the stimulus checks to fill that bucket back up. Well, when they overfill that bucket with more money to the population than is needed, that's when you get the velocity of it passing around.
Now, but people would have to go out and spend for that velocity to happen, correct?
Correct, but because the situation is so dire, because we're in so much debt, the governments are forced to try whatever they can to cause inflation because they can't have deflation, because if we have little or too much deflation, the whole thing will fall apart. Because the problem is so much exponential. So.
Okay. So and then also other than money printing and money printing velocity, are there any other factors that could also trigger hyperinflation, or does it have to be specifically those things?
So what it usually happens, and what happens in all these scenarios is that the populace starts getting so much currency that they start a psychological distortion of what a piece of paper, you start realizing that this is just a piece of paper and it's not a value of anything. So then, because you're getting so much of it, and you're going, okay, well, I have this good here, but I have this currency, there's so much of it in circulation, and then what you start doing is you start grabbing the goods and getting rid of your currency because everyone's starting to notice that, oh, the price of this is going up. Well, why is it going up? They start realizing that it's the currency that's causing this. And then it just escalates from there because you go to the store and this is $1, right? Then you're like, you know what? I don't want to buy this because, you know what? I want to buy it on sale when it's at 80 cents. And then you come back and you notice it's at $2 and you're like, well, that's kind of weird. I'll still wait till it goes on sale down to 80 cents. You come back, then it's $3.50. Then you start going, okay, instead of me buying one, I'm buying 50 of them because I'm afraid when I come back, it's going to go to $10, $20, $100. And that's where you get this escalation of the hyperinflation because there's no goods on the shelf anymore because everyone's hoarded it and they're getting rid of their dollars or currency.
Sorry. Isn't that kind of already happening in South America, I believe, Venezuela?
Yes, Venezuela is going through hyperinflation right now. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then back to the lovely map you have over here. I see all the dollar signs.
Yep.
So you mentioned that those dollar signs equivalent to the surrounding countries around the world. Now, so in what way does it correlate with the dollar signs and those countries?
Good question. Okay, so let's say I am Japan, okay, and Janessa, awesome Janessa here, is China, okay, and Genesis China, she sells me a whole bunch of goods, right? As she gives me those goods, I got to pay her back. Well, when they want payment, they don't want the yen, okay? Because it's not stable. They go, we want dollars, okay? So then Japan has to go, right? And go to the Federal Reserve and get currency and exchange their currency back and forth. Then they give them the currency
And I'm
to
assuming
China.
This is all because the U.S. became the Federal Reserve due to 1944 and Bretton Woods and all that good
Exactly.
stuff. Okay.
Exactly. So everyone's holding all this currency around the world. And all that's left, because we've gone through all these stages, all that's left, and it's a fine line of confidence. But when all of these people start losing confidence in the value of the currency, and this comes down to when you see somebody printing currency like crazy, you start losing faith in the value. So then all of a sudden, they start throwing this right back at the country.
So then I'm assuming, based off of what I'm seeing on the map as well, the fact that we rely on all, the fact that we import and import and import, the fact that we're at 90% consumption, only 10% production, if it were to happen where all, the dollars were to get returned to us, it would not be a pretty picture for us, would it?
No, because what you're having way too many dollars, right? You're getting the velocity from all of it coming back, and it's chasing, you don't have many goods in there because you're not producing anything. So it's chasing all of that, and it drives up the price of those goods into hyperinflation scenarios. And usually when you're at 40% capacity for the debt-driven, you're in hyperinflation scenario. We're at 60% right now.
So what would that? So it would cause the hyperinflation. So would that? I'm assuming would cause the dollar to fall. Now
That's exactly what it does. It plummets, and it's exactly in the charts here. You get Portugal, Spain, all of them. You see, there's a couple of them who tried to save their currency, and within a month or two after, then it just plummeted even more when they tried to save it.
Now, does that mean that the U.S., the dollar would be the first to fall, or would it be a trickle effect where there's maybe a theoretical situation where other countries would then fall and try and rely on the dollar, and then eventually it all plummets?
Well, and that's in my other video, but going through, okay. So in my next video, I'll show you what I have as the end game. And I hope you join me for my next video when I show you how to place your chess pieces before you cross over the Rubicon of the Raven. Thank you.